Hello, welcome to Mornings with Ken Rosato. It is Tuesday, July 14th, 2026, midway through the darn month. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. A little bit today. Kick it off with meteorologist Mike Favetta and the forecast near you. So, Mike, again with the 90s.
Again with the 90s and a real sharp change from yesterday because it was lovely on Sunday and we had that gorgeous weather yesterday. But today, the weather really starting to heat up, jumping by about 15 degrees. With that, lots of humidity. That's why we have the heat alerts up, the extreme heat warning right through tomorrow evening for all the counties shaded in purple. And then on north and southern end of the state, the heat advisory for feels like temperatures up to 105 degrees. Very warm weather. So we start off with our record highs, which are centered right now in the upper Midwest. It's that big heat dome that's spreading eastward. And by this time tomorrow, we will likely tap into some record high temperatures in New Jersey as that wind comes in from the west, rolls over the Appalachians, and in a phenomenon known as downsloping, it actually compresses the air, dries it out, makes it very hot and humid around here. And you can see where all of the clouds and showers are suppressed down to our south. So lots of clear sky again today. But again, the heat really begins to build through this afternoon into tomorrow. There's the high pressure controlling our extreme heat, slowly drifting eastward over the next day or so. And until we get to tomorrow night, we're in the thick of it. We'll likely see a little bit of a cool down with the front that moves through late tomorrow night into early Thursday morning. Could spark off a storm or maybe some passing clouds, but generally it likely goes through pretty dry. So we'll see temperatures slowly fall as we head into Friday and Saturday. But look at where the heat is centered across the upper Midwest, this large area of high pressure that's swirling around and allowing for all of that heat to continue as we head into the next few days. I want to talk more about the Saharan dust coming up in just a bit because as we enter hurricane season, there tends to be a little bit more of that Saharan dust, which allows for not only a reduced hurricane capacity, it's like hurricane kryptonite, takes away all of the energy from the Atlantic basin, but it also makes for some rather impressive sunrises and sunsets as that Saharan dust lingers in the atmosphere. So, as you may imagine, it originates there in the Saharan desert, works its way across the Atlantic basin, preventing a lot of that heat to be absorbed by the ocean. And so, as that dust reflects a lot of that energy out to outer space, all of the breeding grounds, if you will, the birthplaces of hurricanes this time of year in July and August, basically a graveyard. Not expected to see any hurricane development as long as that Saharan dust layer, or SAL as it's known, lingers. And that'll be the case, Ken, going into the next few weeks.
I don't think it likes being called a sow. I'm just saying. You get a phone call during the show, we'll know. Just letting you know.
Okay.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Michael, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. It is 68 degrees northern New Jersey, also in Trenton, and in Los Angeles right now it is 65 degrees, 64 degrees in San Diego. In terms of traffic, a lot of things going on. We have a crash just happened on 495 eastbound in North Bergen, two center lanes blocked. So I don't even know if we still have. Do we have the camera, Pam, for your Columbia Avenue cam, or is it out? All right. Yeah. So maybe last week this camera was out. Yeah, it's still out. Yeah, see if you have anything on 495 we could show. If not, it's okay. But this crash, this is going to impact Lincoln Tunnel traffic. Let's put it that way, all morning long because it's two lanes now impacted, two lanes blocked. Back in the getting into New Jersey, Route 35, we have a gas main break. This is northbound Route 35, north of Hazlitt Avenue in Hazlitt Township. Right lane and right shoulder closed. On the Turnpike, we have a crash with injuries, and that is southbound north of Interchange 3, Route 168 Lawnside, with the right shoulder closed. And then right now, your Hudson River crossings, we already told you about the Lincoln. Well, basically, the approach to the Lincoln on 495. Total time in now is going to be upwards of about 50 minutes. 50. That's starting now at 7:04. Just beware. Avoid the approach via 495. If you need to go to the Lincoln Tunnel and you're local, go to the local routes. You can get in through the North Bergen and Weehawken and Union area. You know how to get in through the back roads. That's the way to get into the Lincoln Tunnel right now. Don't try to take 495, period. Over to the Holland Tunnel, let's take a look at 139. This is from, oh, it's not so bad. You can see the lane way off on the left. That's the only slowdown there. That's actually right there about 20 minutes. That's going to change in a big way now that everybody knows about what's happening at 495. And your approach to the GWB upper and lower levels, the 8095 approach, your upper level is going to be on the right, lower level on the left. I don't know why they're showing so much sky. That's weird. But there you have it. So that is usually at this hour, to be that speed at that location. That's about 25 minutes. That's not so bad at all. 5 minutes past the hour. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster will appoint the late Senator Lindsey Graham's sister, Darlene Graham Nardone, to finish his Senate term, which ends in January. McMaster held a news conference yesterday to announce the appointment for the vacant seat left by Graham's death. President Trump, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, and others voiced their support for Nardone. South Carolina will hold a special Republican primary next month to choose an individual who will run for the next full term in November's election. Graham took legal guardianship of his sister when he was 22 and she was 13 after both of their parents died within 15 months of each other. Senator Graham died Saturday at the age of 71. The medical examiner the first take of the medical examiner on the cause suggested aortic dissection. So he had hardening of the arteries. That's the old term for atherosclerosis. So in other words, plaques built up in the arteries, including the biggest one, I believe it's the biggest one on the whole body, the aorta, which comes off the top of the heart. And so it becomes stiff and hard and brittle. And all you need is some kind of change in your blood pressure and it could tear when it becomes brittle. Think an old piece of plastic that has been weathered in the sun and you go to fill it with water like a plastic bag, it'll tear. Whereas a new baggie or something will not, because it has that malleability. And that's exactly what happened. He had just come on a long plane ride. Think about it. That's air pressure. Long plane ride from Ukraine, comes home, feels tired. His artery tore, the aortic valve, the aorta in the northern part, the top part of the heart. So that is likely what caused his death based on the ME's report. 7 minutes past the hour, the U.S. military said that it hit dozens of Iranian military targets in a second night of strikes last night. Iranian state media said its forces were responding. Iran breaking the deal they worked out in 11 hours of negotiations with the U.S. Like everything they discussed, they reneged on everything. So basically anything that Iran promises, it's not worth the words coming out of their mouths or the paper it's written on. A U.S. military spokesperson said the new strikes come after Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps fired at another commercial vessel in the waterway, where Washington and Tehran have been making contradictory claims about the status of marine traffic. So Iran keeps saying it's closed. Meanwhile, the U.S. and everybody else is BS. You don't have anything to stop the ships. They have like some rocket-propelled or arm-propelled rockets and things like that, and guns, which the second they try to fire, we have ships that blow them out of the water. So they're not going to take a ship down. It's going to be annoying. They could cause damage. But the point is, they promised not to do this anymore, and yet they continue to do it. Tehran claimed that it conducted a fresh wave of strikes toward U.S. bases, which everyone said did not happen. Sirens were activated in Bahrain, while the military in Kuwait said that it was dealing with, quote, hostile aerial targets. And Jordan's military intercepted 4 missiles from within its airspace. At this point, that's all Iran can do, be like a bunch of annoying gnats. And all the missiles are getting intercepted, but they just keep doing it. The explosions you see are in Iran. That's U.S. impacting Iran, not Iran impacting others. The unrest has forced Brent crude and U.S. crude prices to rise about 3% since the weekend. It is 9 minutes past. One person was killed in a shooting yesterday in Biddeford, Maine. Officials say ICE was involved in the incident, in quotes, involved. They're not clarifying how. Marking the latest shooting linked to ICE after a man was shot by an agent in Houston last week. The FBI was on the scene gathering details. Anti-ICE protesters, of course, according to plan, immediately descended on the scene and at the office of Republican Senator Susan Collins, as if Susan Collins had anything to do with it. The shooting comes after Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was shot by an ICE agent Tuesday in Houston during a traffic stop. Officials say Araujo refused to follow verbal commands. Look, no matter who you are, legal or not, if a cop, any cop, federal or local, says, stop, get out of the car, give me your license, don't be an ass. Do what the cop says. The worst that'll happen is you'll get arrested. If you don't follow commands, the worst that'll happen is you end up on a slab being buried. It's pretty simple. So apparently, according to witnesses, police, and others, Araujo, this is the Houston guy, tried to flee. Then he weaponized his vehicle by ramming an ICE vehicle, prompting an officer to fire in self-defense. And of course, right away, the anti-ICE people said, that's their playbook now. They say that he weaponized the vehicle. Yeah. If you don't stop when you're told to stop and you begin to take off with your vehicle, even if it's not directly in the direction of the person, you're weaponizing the vehicle because I don't know as a cop if you're not going to turn around and come after me. You are told to stop. By law, when a cop tells you to stop, you must stop. We'll work out the details later about why he or she is stopping you. But if they say stop, you stop. It's pretty freaking easy. Other news, the NFL's Play 60 initiative made a stop in North Bergen, and it brought some familiar faces with it. On New Jersey's Emily Griffith has the story.
Not every school day ends with two NFL quarterbacks on the field. But for sixth graders in North Bergen, it did. The event, held at North Bergen Recreation Center, was organized in partnership with the American Heart Association, which has worked with the NFL on the Play 60 initiative for nearly 20 years. The program encourages kids to get 60 minutes of physical activity every day.
60 minutes of movement, physical activity gets your heart going, and it really is a great way to take care of your body from ages as soon as you can to as old as you can.
Students rotated through a series of activities set up across the recreation center, with Winston and Dart moving through each station alongside them.
In North Bergen, sometimes you don't get to see a lot of these players, and it's just so cool to see from them on TV to come here.
Both players seemed just as excited to be there as the kids were to have them.
He is the face of a franchise, and he's taking time out of his day to come and serve these young boys and girls and instill and ignite their dreams and resilience.
The day was a result of the students' great attendance, and their energy was impossible to miss.
That's something that these kids will remember for the rest of their lives, and it means a lot to us.
For these kids, the last week of school came with a story worth telling all summer. For On New Jersey, I'm Emily Griffith.
And terrifying moments in the Totowa area when a car exploded in Totowa at a townhouse complex, and that sent shrapnel flying in all directions. The explosion happened 5:30 yesterday morning on Congressional Lane in the Hickory Hill complex. That sent a man to the hospital in the process. The man was inside the car at the time of the explosion. A number of houses damaged as flying debris cracked windows and destroyed siding. The Passaic County Sheriff's Office is investigating. Big fire in Neptune City Sunday left 4 apartments and a complex destroyed. It happened on Sylvania Avenue just past noon. The apartments totally destroyed, leaving a number of people homeless. Fortunately, nobody got hurt. Most important thing. And some corporate anger in the Golden State. Paramount now promising to fight California's lawsuit trying to block its proposed $110 billion merger with Warner Brothers Discovery, arguing the deal would actually boost competition. Yesterday, California's Attorney General Rob Bonta led a coalition of 12 Democratic attorneys general to file a lawsuit seeking to block the merger. We will have a lot more on this story from our tech expert Fisher. He's going to be talking about this in about 40 minutes. Paramount insists the combined company would be better equipped to compete against streaming platforms like Netflix by investing more in premium programming, theatrical releases, and creative talent. They also accuse the attorneys general of protecting the industry's largest streaming rivals instead of consumers. Sure, put all the money to protect Netflix and screw the little guy and make the prices go up, saying the lawsuit would ultimately and immediately benefit major technology companies while preventing a stronger competitor from emerging. It's called price fixing, and it's obvious when only blue states are doing it what their goal is. It is 14 minutes past, and the Yellowstone National Park tourist who was thrown into the air like a rag doll by a bison. Check this video out, by the way. It's a pretty crazy video. I don't know, maybe it was the beard. Pissed off the bison. Well, the guy's identified as a grandfather who liked to crack jokes about his painful, now viral incident. Do we have the video? I mean, that's the video, but I don't know if we cut it at the right point. We got, yeah, zip forward. See if we could see the most important part. Yeah, there he is. Okay, watch what happens. We've probably all seen this at this point, but it bears watching again. So you see when the tail goes up in the air, I've heard this a million times. So watch what happens. See, when a bison's tail goes up, that means he's about to charge. And boom! That guy is so lucky he wasn't gored and he's alive. And he's just in a lot of pain, but he's okay, thank God. Carl Ison McDaniels received several broken bones in the frightening encounter Friday night at the Bridge Bay campground near Yellowstone Lake, but he made light of the attack, even as he waited for a park ambulance. McDaniel's a retiree, mid-60s, visiting the park from Kendall, Washington. He's known for serving on several boards there, including Water and Parks Commissions. Should know better. Don't get in the way of the bison. Hundreds of fans packed a grocery store this week to meet a baseball Hall of Famer and have a taste of his new hot sauce. On New Jersey's Emily Griffith was there.
Baseball legend Mariano Rivera made a stop at the ShopRite of New Milford, not to sign baseballs, but to launch his new hot sauce line, Moe's Heat. For decades, fans lined up outside Yankee Stadium just to watch him pitch. This morning, they lined up again to buy his hot sauce.
My mother's a super fan of him, and my mother's 86, so he's her favorite player.
He's a big inspiration to me because I close for my team. It's just like crazy meeting like a Yankees pitcher.
From the mound to the kitchen, Rivera shared how his sauce came to be. He credits the idea to a push from his business partner, Tom Singari Jr.
He just was harassing me for so many years. And no, I'm playing. You know, he showed me, he brought the product. I said, you know what, we have something special. And, in 4 months, we have our first container.
But the recipe itself goes back much further than 4 months.
Over 120 years of recipe, that has been in Panama and using it. Just bring that from our Panama to the fans in New York, Jersey, Connecticut, and then the rest of the world.
Along with being his signature pitch, the cutter is also Rivera's favorite flavor of his new sauce.
Then you put it in water and you drink it with the quarter. It tastes delicious.
By the time the line wound down, fans had their bottles, their photos, and a few words from a legend they grew up watching.
The same skills that I use to play baseball, those are the same skills that we use to make this product, which is love, kind, peace. It makes you the best.
For Rivera, it's a new chapter. And for the fans who packed this parking lot today, it was a first taste. For On New Jersey, I'm Emily Griffith.
Thank you for that report, Emily. Very nice. And I've met Mariano Rivera a number of times over the years. He is as kind and humble and sweet as that. He's a very nice guy. Good guy. It is 17 minutes past the hour. When we come back, there are so many aesthetic medical treatments we can get today, but what looks natural and what's just plain trendy and risky? We're going to speak with a doctor who uses a conservative approach. We're coming back. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato for your Tuesday live in New Jersey and New York, Los Angeles, and in the state of Florida. It is 20 minutes past the hour. Meteorologist Mike Favetta, little heat wave action going on in the Northeast.
Yeah, and it may only last for 2 days, Ken, because I think we
Oh, then it's
cool
not a
down.
wave.
Yeah, well, but it's close enough. It's close. That's like a little mini wave, if you will. A heat surge, perhaps, by the time we get to Wednesday, tomorrow afternoon. That's where we'll see highs reach the low 100s. But by later on in the week, especially toward Thursday and Friday, a little bit cooler. So we look around this morning, lots of clear sky. The heat will be building quickly through the day. Place to be is near the water, whether it be a pool or an ocean. Look at all of this warm weather and clear sky, thanks to the high pressure that's centered off to our west, allowing for that heat to drive eastward over the next several days. It will be hotter in New Jersey than Florida, and that's due to those clouds and showers that are currently across the southeast. But by Thursday, the cold front slides through, dries us out. It's not as humid going into late tomorrow night and early Thursday, even though the heat will still be around, high pressure on top of us to finish out the work week. Friday, a beautiful day, but still rather warm, not as humid. Then we tap into the weekend, and I think Saturday will bring back some showers. You see our next front move through, and that will clear by Sunday. So we'll zoom in, give you an idea of what's happening after some clouds around tomorrow and even for Thursday as that front sags southward. The clouds also helping to cool us down just a little bit, breaking us from the extreme heat. And then by Friday into Saturday, you see some showers build for Saturday morning, clearing probably later on Saturday evening. And then Sunday is nice and clear, leading into a, of course, dry and sunny start to our Monday. So another dry start to next week. Allergies have been better, I think, going into the middle of the week. Grasses and weeds again rising, but the tree pollen season is pretty much over, and molds have been lower thanks to all of the dry weather around. So you see all of these high, thin clouds coming in from the north today. They basically dissipate by the time they reach us. Pressure's too high, keeping our skies clear, but you'll really see that thermometer rise today again through this afternoon. We'll tell you how hot coming up with another check of your weather in a few minutes.
All right, Mike. Thank you, sir. It's already sticky. 68 degrees northern New Jersey and in Trenton. It's 65 degrees in Los Angeles and 64 in San Diego. It's 22 minutes past the hour right now. An amazing time to be alive. A full 11% of all Americans are on GLP-1s for weight loss. Lasers can be used for everything from acne treatments to arthritis. And you ever hear of the Hollywood carbon peel facial? Dr. Farhan Qureshi is founder and medical director of Neuroaesthetic, or Aesthetic, but it's spelled Aesthetic, and Wellness Center. Good morning to you, Dr. Qureshi. Good to have you on.
Good. Thanks for having me on.
I always love like the French spelling of stuff here. Aesthetic. Very, very nice. But I love the fact that you are emphatic about a conservative approach to an aesthetic look. So you don't get the duck lips, you don't get the big fake cheeks. I mean, here, and I know you're not going to want to criticize. I'll criticize. Let me be the person. I see someone like Barry Manilow, whom I saw recently, and I know he's going through an illness, so I hope he's well. No, and seriously, somebody at some point has to say, Barry, stop it. The man's face is paralyzed. That is from what? Is that from like when people just do too much surgery and they think that, what do they keep trying to correct the last surgery, and so they end up where they can't move their faces? Is that how that happens?
The celebrity client is unique. The celebrity client is unique because there's a lot of power for them, and on the one hand, it's an honor and a privilege for the practice to have a Barry Manilow or one of these people there. But on the other hand, there's also a fear that if I don't please Mr. Manilow and he gets upset, what if he tells all his buddies that don't go to this place? They're terrible. You know what I mean? So there's part of the challenge is when you're in this industry, you're trying to please the client. But if your client is somebody very powerful and important, like a celebrity or a star, it's harder to say no to them. As a physician, I have said no to them. I've actually aggressively said no to them because I don't want them to be criticized, and then when they're criticized, it's my work. So I tend to lean more conservative, but there's pressure on their part. They have to perpetually look a certain way and project this invincibility that I am a star. I'm always going to shine no matter what. So that's kind of what happens, unfortunately.
Doctor, just for full disclosure, and I've said it on the air before, I'm on a GLP-1. I'm on the baby dose, the 0.25 of Ozempic, because of blood sugar issues, because I had a gastric bypass 25 years ago. And so the blood sugar goes all over the place. And it's kept me stable. So in my lifetime, I've gone from 360 to 180 pounds. And I am at 180 and have been that way for 2 years and haven't budged. And obviously the blood sugar likes it and the body likes it, and all my numbers are flawless, but that's from very careful medical evaluation. And it wasn't like, I want to drop 12 pounds, doc, give me a prescription. So but people do that, right? Instead of, if you only have 10 pounds to lose, GLP-1 may not be the way to go. But if you have 30 or 40 and your blood sugar is definitely off the charts, or your triglycerides and everything else, that might be an option, right?
Yeah, correct. Well, there are different GLP-1s now. There are different GLP-1s for all shapes and sizes. Um, when I have a prospective patient who doesn't need a lot of help, they may be on the border, like their BMI is like 28 or 29. If they really insist on going on a GLP-1, I'll recommend something, like Forneo, which is the newer oral GLP-1 from Eli Lilly. It's not as strong, but that's fine. Maybe that's all that they need. But I think the problem we have is this is technically a medication. People forget that. People forget that this is a real drug. It has I mean, it's great. I'm a huge GLP-1 proponent. The data is fantastic, but it's not a benign thing that you just buy at the local drugstore and just take it casually like a vitamin C. There are consequences to it, and you must speak to a professional about it and see if it's the right choice for you. But I'm very pro GLP-1, especially in this country. Unfortunately, we have a man-made problem that has led to the obesity epidemic, and I think for now the GLP-1 are the best workaround for it until we can restructure our way of life here.
Yeah, and for people who think, oh, it's just perfect, et cetera, just remember, if you ever need to go in for a surgical procedure and go under anesthesia, you got to get off your GLP-1 in case your
Yeah.
general practitioner forgets to tell you at least 2 to 3 weeks before a surgical procedure, or you could aspirate and not, right, and not be, you could choke during a surgical procedure. So you have to make sure you get off, talk to your doctor about it, but make sure you get off several weeks before you have a surgical procedure if you're under anesthesia. If not, it doesn't really matter. But that's the doctor. He knows. He'll tell you. But so also, doctor, I know that you like a conservative approach. Let me give again, using myself as an example. I had, because of the gastric bypass and the amount of weight loss. So now I got that. I got the neck, which a lot of people get in their old age. This has been forming over the years. Now, of course, if I were in LA, they would say full facelift, right? Because just a little tuck by the ear doesn't usually do everything. What would you recommend for a much more conservative approach to this?
Yeah, so skin tightening is becoming very popular because everyone is losing weight now thanks to the GLP-1s. Actually, fun fact: Medscape had a study last year that showed for the first time in 30 years, Americans collectively actually lost a percentage of their overall body fat, which is insane because the numbers always got worse every year. Thanks to the GLP-1s, not only have they lost more weight, alcohol stocks are down and fast food stocks are down because guess what? Before alcohol becomes alcohol, it's a refined sugar, which, as you know, from a GLP-1, good luck, trying to eat pizza or really highly carbon rich foods and or drinks. You feel sick, so you're just not going to do it. So what has happened now is people have lost a bunch of weight, which is great. They're losing weight on this stuff, which is awesome. Unfortunately, if you're losing a bunch of weight, you're going to have loose skin tissue, and plus that's just also part of aging. You'll lose your fat in your face. So personally, what I have had done, I'll talk about myself since I don't mind violating my own HIPAA. I get RF microneedling regularly. I get it on my face and my neck, and I get lasered. I make a joke with my friends. I've been lasered so much. I have more radiation than Chernobyl. If somebody kisses my face, they'll die. But I get it regularly, and you know, it's pretty natural. People always mistake me, I guess, from the hairline down. They mistake me for a person much younger than what I actually am. But it's empowering to take care of yourself. You're sending a message to society that, hey, um, I'm taking care of myself. I take my appearance very seriously. These are people who are sending a message that hygiene and appearance is very important to them. Now, of course, I'm not a proponent of the duck lips. I cringe when I see that. I'm very anti dog lips and getting care. But of course, people have the right in this country to do what they please. I personally will not be letting it get to that point. But this is where we go into the world of regenerative medicine and restorative aesthetics, and I'm a big proponent of that.
Amen to that. Doctor, give everybody your website. You're in Virginia, right? You're based?
Yeah. So we're in Northern Virginia. We're right near the Washington Dulles Airport, so it's very easy to fly into us. We're in Sterling. So our website is www.thenoormd.com. That is Noor, NOORMD.com. We also have a podcast that we've reestablished, and that's on our separate YouTube channel. Our channel is youtube.com/@the-NOORMD Clinic, NOORMD Clinic, the NOORMD Clinic. And you can watch our content and learn about all the things that we do.
And for those who don't know, Noor in Arabic means beauty, right? Doesn't that mean beauty?
It literally means light, but it's used as exactly. You're right. It's used as a term of endearment. So you would see someone that you're attracted to, and you say, "I could see the Noor from your eyes," and oh, it's like a beautiful thing. So it's used in that way. So that's why we picked the name. It's also my son's first. I named it after him.
Very cool. Very nice. And for those, the majority of our audience is in the state of New Jersey. That's like a 3-hour drive. That is not a bad drive. So you could drive down and meet the doctor, get your treatments, and explore DC while you're there. It's such a great city. Dr. Furhan Qureshi, founder, medical director of Noor Aesthetic and Wellness Center, Sterling, Virginia. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. It was a pleasure, sir.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Thanks. 32 minutes past right now. And when we come back, living with chronic pain can affect every part of a person's life. But imagine being diagnosed with a pain syndrome that requires treatment for the rest of your life. We'll be right back. Good morning, Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato. Meteorologist Mike Favetta talking about a micro heat wave of sorts for the Northeast. Good morning, sir.
That's a great, we'll go with that. We'll go with that because it's itty bitty heat wave. That's basically done by tomorrow evening, but it gets hot in a hurry, especially after so much lovely weather the last few days with the dry breezes, the warm sunshine. Now the heat and humidity beginning to build. And with that, we see a lot of clouds off to our north. We stay dry across New Jersey today. Look at the futurecast keeping us clear as a bell right through this afternoon into this evening, but temperature really begins to heat up beginning tomorrow morning as well with the humidity. As temperatures rise, likely reaching 100, could spark off a quick afternoon storm. You see a lot of these clouds here along the front working through into Thursday. Most of the energy stays off to our north, but may just grace us, especially through the northern part of the state into Thursday evening. That's the best chance of seeing any wet weather, but if you're hoping for the rain, lawns could use a little bit of water. Probably not enough, especially with the high returning for Friday, bringing back another round of dry weather. And going into Saturday and Sunday, that's where we could see our next round of light rain. So across most of the East Coast, we stay dry today and to tomorrow. Out west, take a quick check of the West Coast weather. You see a little bit of the inland showers working up the coast. Remember, it was very hot here this time last week, so catching a break after all of that extreme heat. There's low pressure sitting offshore and likely giving folks in Southern California a little break from that extreme heat that they've been dealing with the last few days into last week. Friday sees a return to the clouds all across the southern part of the state and bringing back those clouds even into Saturday. So again, another quick check. So it was clear sky this morning, transitioning back to clouds by the end of the week. We'll talk more about the rest of the country's weather, especially with the showers and clouds across most of the southeastern part of the U.S., with the rain there, and our continued heat, Ken, that goes on through tomorrow, coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you, sir. It is 69 degrees now up and down the state of New Jersey, 65 degrees Los Angeles, and 64 in San Diego. 37 minutes past, and living with chronic pain can affect every part of a person's life. And for Kiana Wooten, that journey began with breast cancer and a series of emergency surgeries that ultimately led to a diagnosis of complex regional pain syndrome, or CRPS. The condition left her with major nerve damage in her dominant arm and hand, making her work as a chef incredibly difficult. And she joins us this morning to share her very challenging story. Good morning to you, Kiana.
Good morning, Ken. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So talk about the complications from your surgeries and how that ultimately led to the CRPS diagnosis.
Right. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2019, and I decided to get a bilateral mastectomy, which basically means have both breasts removed. And the plan was to put in implants. When they put in the tissue expanders to get me ready for the implants, I actually developed sepsis. So they had to do an emergency surgery, take the tissue expanders out, and then they put the implants in. And I developed sepsis again for a second time with the implants. And then after that, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I basically just stayed flat. Because I had like 3 surgeries essentially back to back, my initial surgery, then the tissue expanders, and then, the implants and the removal of those 2 things, I have a lot of scar tissue. So over the following year, I noticed that I kept having like some swelling in my chest area. Obviously, I would go to my breast surgeon and the oncologist because you're thinking the worst, like, oh my gosh, it's a reoccurrence.
Okay, we'll work on the signal. We just lost Kiana's signal there for a minute. So let's just recap where we're at right now. Kiana, who is a chef, who works very hard. Chefs, as it is, have a very challenging life. It's a lot of hard hours working on your feet and a lot of stress. Developed breast cancer in 2019. And then she decided at that point you could do a bunch of things. Some people decide to go through chemo. Some people decide to go through radiation. Some say, let's do a lumpectomy. And others say, you know what? If it's an aggressive form of cancer, I don't want to mess around. And they do what she did. She had a bilateral mastectomy. So that means that they go in and remove all of the breast tissue in both breasts. and they go or they get the glands, everything. I know people who've done this, and they do it so that the idea of having any spread, any extra cell that might be around would be gone. And this way you don't have to worry about, or for the most part, the chance of the cancer recurring is minimal, zero, over 5 years, certainly. And that's why a lot of women choose that. I know several who've done that, and it's painful and it's a challenging decision because it just radically transforms your physique. Obviously, your breasts are part of your life since puberty, and all of a sudden they're gone. So what a lot of women do then is have reconstructive surgery, where they put implants in to have the shape back. And so the first step to doing that is having the tissue re-stretched, because remember, they cut off the other tissue with the breast, it's gone. So now they have to regrow the skin in order to have enough skin there to support the implant. And it was at that point when they put the stretchers in there, if you will, to grow the skin, that she developed sepsis, which is a very serious infection, bacterial infection that grows rapidly. You could die from sepsis because it's blood poisoning, it's blood infection. And that happens if you have, area infection, and it can happen under the most perfect of situations. You could be in the most antiseptic hospital, and bacteria is in the air all over the place. So if your immune system happens to be a little low, boom, you could develop sepsis. And Kiana developed sepsis. They apparently thought they had the sepsis under control. They go forward with the implants, and the sepsis then comes back. And Kiana, I see, is back right now. So Kiana, I just gave a full recap with a little detail because I know other people who've had almost, minus the sepsis, everything else that you described. And I just described what sepsis is. So let's come back. So you developed sepsis the second time, which must have been incredibly painful, unnerving. And then what happened from there?
So from there, I stayed flat. But then over the course of the year, I noticed there were changes starting to happen. Like my chest would start to swell. So immediately, you're thinking the worst. You're thinking that, oh my God, it's another reoccurrence. So I would see the breast surgeon. I would see the oncologist. I've probably had every type of imaging known to man. I've done MRIs, CAT scans, ultrasounds, with and without contrast things. And on paper, scientifically, I looked fine because they couldn't find anything. But physically looking at me, you could tell something was wrong. So this has been a few years of me being hospitalized, going to see vascular doctors, surgeons, neurologists, just trying to figure out what is going on. And it wasn't until this past November that I finally had an official diagnosis, which was the CRPS. And when I talk about the sensitivity to touch, I mean, imagine you going outside and the wind is blowing and you just, tense up and you just want to cry because your hand and your arm is just so sensitive to everything. Even with taking a shower, the water hitting the side. I know it sounds very exaggerated, and that's what people tend to think, that, you're just exaggerating. It can't be that painful. But, if you do your research about it, it is the most painful condition known to man as we speak. And it's rare.
There's nothing do you have to be on medication at all times to try to minimize it, or does the medication do nothing?
Well, for me so far, the medication that I've tried has done nothing. I've had nerve block injections that it'll help the pain for maybe a week or two, and then I'm right back to that same amount of pain, the swelling. So you're basically a guinea pig, if I'm being honest, because you just have to try things that will just give you some type of relief. Nothing is going to, make the pain go away completely. But if you could just get just a little bit of a break, it's really intense. And CRPS is also called the suicide disease.
Disease.
Yeah, and
because
it's
of the
really
severity
sad.
of persistence, right? Because it just doesn't stop.
It just
have you
stop.
worked for this by any chance? Have you been working as well? Because you're a chef. That's a demanding job.
Very demanding job. So I was out of work for about 4 months, and then I just went back because I'm just not ready to give up. But it is very, very challenging because this is my dominant hand, and there are times where I do have a flare up, and I'm like, okay, I can't do this today, and I have to be out of work for a few days just to rest my arm and my hand. So it is definitely challenging. And another thing I'd like to say is that I've learned the CRPS can spread. So right now it's in my right hand and arm, but next year it could spread down to my foot. It can spread to the whole body. And I'm like, this is like, how do you deal with that? So, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm still learning, like, okay, if this happens, what do we do? And there's not a definitive answer. And that's very scary.
Yes, it is. It's terrifying for me to just hear it. I can't even imagine facing it, and just the idea that you are so hypersensitive to things like wind and touch, and you have to work, or people come up to you not knowing and just grab your arm and grab your hand and want to give you a kiss hello, right? And they mean the best. They don't realize
Right.
what you're living through, and I can't even imagine. And you've been, I'm sure, to specialist after specialist about this.
Oh, yes. Specialist after specialist. I When I was diagnosed, I had to find some support groups because I'm like, "Oh, I've never heard of this. What do I do? There has to be other people out here that are dealing with the same things." And I came across a guy named Charles Maddox. He actually created a documentary about CRPS because his mother has full body CRPS. So I
Mhm.
got in touch with him. I'm like, can you give me any type of doctors that you know? Um, and let me backtrack for a second. He also is the nephew of the late Bob Marley. So that was just like, ooh, that was a plus. And as we talked, he sent a film crew out to my house. He's doing a second documentary. It's called Trail by Fire 2. And, just captured my story because, you go from having one condition and you're still dealing with that. So I still deal with the breast cancer. I still, do medications and I'm on hormone therapy for it. And now I have this other now chronic condition. So it's definitely an uphill battle.
Mhm.
But
Amazing.
Charles has helped me so much.
Thank God, and only because we're out of time. We're up against the clock, unfortunately. Kiana, I just looked up. I saw the Cleveland Clinic has quite a website on CRPS for people who want to get some more information about it. And we just pray for you and hope you get better. Do for that at the very least they come up with a drug for you that will help minimize the sensitivity and the pain you're going through. I can't even envision the chronic pain and the sensitivity. But we appreciate you coming on. She was diagnosed,
Thank you.
folks, with complex regional pain syndrome, CRPS. Kiana Wooten, good health to you, good healing. We pray for you, and thank you for sharing your very challenging story with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Well, if you haven't heard, if you've been in a cloud, Paramount Skydance and Warner Brothers Discovery, two enormous media corporations, want to merge. They have the urge to merge, and there are some people who don't want it to happen. And we'll talk about that. Here's Brandon, digital strategist Fisher, in just 2 minutes. He's going to be here to talk about it. In the meantime, we go back to our dear friend, meteorologist Mike Favetta, with a mini heat wave, or we're going to call it a micro heat wave because micro has two meanings. It has little and microwave all at the same time.
There's a lot of that heat coming for a short period of time, so it's brief, Ken, especially with all of that sunshine that's around today. You look outside, it's gorgeous across most of the country. It's down south, a little bit of cloud cover with that rain, and even out west, you can see where that heat is and all the clear sky across most of the country. That's what stays put even through Thursday. We see the clouds begin to return across the East Coast once we get into Thursday afternoon, with the rain not far behind coming in for Saturday. So it's a wet start to the weekend. But by Sunday, we start to see things clear out, and a beautiful start to next week as well, where that heat now starts to move south into Tuesday of next week. So a few more days of that hot weather across the Midwest. As far as the East Coast, you see this little front come through, dries us out, doesn't provide much in the way of rainfall. That'll be the case throughout Friday, but into the next 2 weeks, we are expecting average temperature, so average heat. This little mini heat wave doesn't last too long, and then behind that, a little bit more rainfall that'll take us into the weekend, certainly for Saturday. A lot of rain out west, with that precipitation outlook looking very wet for places along the west coast, and that helps to put a dent in the drought as we see the drought improve across the east coast with more rain in the forecast, Ken.
All right, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. It is now 50 minutes past the hour. Not 50 degrees. I wish it was 71 degrees right now. Northern New Jersey, 69 degrees in the south. And let's see, it is now 68 degrees down the shore, Cape May, Los Angeles, 65 degrees. In a major development shaking up the entertainment industry, a coalition of 12 states led by none other than California has filed a lawsuit to block the proposed $110 billion merger between Paramount Skydance and Warner Brothers Discovery. The attorneys general argue the deal would create an entertainment behemoth that stifles competition, drives up prices, and reduces the quality and quantity of movies and TV shows for consumers. Brand and digital strategist Fisher, whom you could reach on X and Threads at Fisher or through his website, fisher.media, here to talk about it. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
Well, so word on the street is that's bullshit. The word on the street is crock. What it is the Big 12 happen to all be blue states, liberal states, afraid that Paramount Skydance is going to grab control of CNN, which is owned by Warner Brothers. And once they have control of CNN, they look at Paramount Skydance as being this conservative behemoth, which it is far from that. All the current ownership said was, let's go straight down the line. That's it.
Mhm.
They don't want conservative. They don't want liberal. But to a liberal, straight down the line is terrifying. They want liberal only because they view the world through a liberal prism. And so liberal is normal, and anything to the right of liberal is Nazi in the view of today's social democrats, et cetera. So is that what's going on? I mean, because the fact is all 12 states, by coincidence, happen to be hardcore leftist states.
Sure. I mean, it's a great point. The Department of Justice, the United States Department of Justice, has already approved the deal at the federal level, and several global jurisdictions have also cleared it. But these states are challenging it independently. Again, the lawsuit was filed on Monday and raises antitrust concerns, according to the lawsuits, arguing the merger would reduce competition, leading to higher prices, lower quality content, fewer movies and shows, and harm to consumers, theaters, and cable distributors. The combined company, if it went through, would control nearly 1/3 of films, about 1/3 of basic cable TV program, creating the largest portfolio of TV networks in the U.S., including CBS, MTV, BET, CNN, TNT, and on and on. It would also merge streaming services Paramount Plus would be the proper way to say it, and HBO Max, with plans to combine them into one platform. Now, the supporters of the lawsuit also include the Writers Guild of America and Cinema United, which represents movie theater trade groups, or that is the movie theater trade groups. They warn of job losses, lower wages, reduced programming variety, and negative impacts on local theaters. I don't know how that is the case if you're still making movies and producing things, but that's what they argue. Delays could cost Paramount significantly due to a ticking fee of about $650 million per quarter to Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders if the deal doesn't close by September 30th. So, is there good quality movies out? No. So,
Right.
Is this going to help solve that problem? You just had Moana 4 or 5, whatever it was the lowest that came out. Supergirl was the worst performing movie, from DC Comics. Don't come at me if I'm wrong, but, are we putting out great content?
And this is the point. And it's all DEI. It is all DEI. Think about it. You have to have a lesbian man-hating girl as Superman. Why? I mean, listen, there is nothing wrong with having a lesbian man-hating girl. Create a story around the lesbian man-hating girl, like Lesbigirl. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm making fun, but come up with a character for her. Why must you take a beloved American character, who, by the way, was apolitical? Superman was not pro or anti anything. Why must you take that and create a political thing? And Moana, we have to, there are no, God forbid we show Snow White, who is a white-skinned colonialist, no colonizer. God forbid. We have to show somebody who's third world and blah, 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 which is
But
fine.
Moana, I know quality. I mean, and I was just going to say this, and Justine Bateman, who used to be on Family Ties, she's very active on X. She pointed this out. Moana, remember Moana, which is the Rock's movie, came out and it was a huge hit the first time around, great with kids, all that. All this is a live action one, but her point in a lot of things, if you follow her, is why are we reinventing or why are we remaking the same movies over and over again? Like, come up with original content. So Moana really just was it's Police Academy 42. I mean, that's really what that is, and it's just
because
it
was cute originally. It was adorable,
right? And now it has to be something else, has to be live action. Just come up with new stuff. And so you have to argue the opposite for this merger of, well, if good content isn't coming out from either one of these companies separately, then bring them together. It's the same thing. Sirius and XM were two different satellite radio companies. They didn't have good content, to survive separately. So let's bring them together. And now SiriusXM is doing well. Radio companies, TV companies. I mean, we've worked in the business long enough to know that you need to have mergers at some point for financial reasons and content reasons.
Yeah, I have literally worked for every major radio and TV network. Yeah, you too, right? We've worked for every one of the three-letter combos multiple times. And we know, and you're right. And that, by the way, that goes also for the conservative ones. They got their issues too. It's not like, well, it's a panacea. The only reason why Fox tends to do better right now financially than the other guys is they're kind of the only player serving a big audience. 50% of America has that point of view, and they're the only ones serving it. Whereas the other side, you got like 72 media outlets serving the other 50%, which is why the pie is cut up so many ways and they're struggling. We got about a minute left here in a significant move for privacy advocates. The LAPD is letting its contract with Flock Safety expire this weekend. So this is the network of cameras they had all over the LA area. Talk about that.
Well, they have it all over the United States, at least 80,000 license plate recognition cameras across the U.S. that help law enforcement track vehicles. Its cameras are company operated. They're not directly run by police. Police just have the ability to tap into it. But the LAPD is citing serious concerns over civil liberties, privacy, data collection, security, and data sharing. Other cities have also dropped Flock contracts with similar worries, including Mountain View, California, South Portland, Maine. They're concerned about misuse by federal immigration authorities in sanctuary cities as well. So, this is the safety in the places where, where Savannah Guthrie's mom, they did away with all the traffic cameras and now, you couldn't find her. You have no way to track cars. Same thing with Flock cameras. If a crime happens in one jurisdiction and crosses over to another, police that right now are able to use those Flock cameras in order to track the car into a different jurisdiction and find them. It's been successful. HOAs use them, but, again, LAPD is citing privacy concerns, but are they? If you get rid of this system, is your policing going to be better? No, this is an aid. So fix the system if you have concerns, but to get rid of it altogether seems to be not beneficial to the community.
Yeah, I know that people are holding up signs saying "Get the flock out of here" and "Go flock yourself" and stuff like that.
And they're destroying the property. Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
But
well, I mean, yeah, right. At the same time, I was just in LA a month ago, and it's sad to see what one of America's most beautiful cities became, and then look what happened. It's happening in New York. I'm in New York 4 times a week in Manhattan. There's a 12-block stretch of Midtown right now that has become a homeless encampment, and this is what happens when people who think they're doing the right thing take control. It's like having children be in charge of a school. It seems like the empathetic and smart thing to do, but usually is not. That's like, if you like candy, let's give you more. No, that's not the way you solve a problem or prevent one.
Wait, what about cupcakes?
Cupcakes are allowed. That's okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, keep eating them. I noticed the girth, just so you know. Brandon digital strategist Fisher, whom you could reach on X and Threads at Fisher. Tell him about his belly, or through his website, fisher.media. Thank you for coming on this morning, sir.
I'll see you next week, maybe.
Yeah. Fine, be like that. 59 minutes past the hour. For those of you watching on LACA on the West Coast, stay tuned for your local news. If you're watching on New Jersey, we will be back live with New Jersey news, opinion, weather, and traffic. Thanks for watching. We're coming right back. Good morning. It's 8:01, Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, taking calls at 888-658-0234. A lot of heat today. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the full Garden State forecast. Mike, good morning.
Morning, Ken. It's already warming up, like you had mentioned. Temperatures climbing through the 70s, and they're on the way to 90 plus degrees today. It's also the humidity that's key. Even though the temperature is about the same where it was yesterday, the humidity's starting to rise. You remember yesterday and the day before felt very comfortable with the nice dry air. Well, that's about to change because the sticky feeling returns today with a westerly breeze, with temperatures today starting off in the 80s, climbing to 100 up in Hackensack there in Bergen County. By later on, 99 in Trenton, 97 in Camden. So there will be some hot spots. The wind switches to blow in from the south and west, and that's what pushes in more humidity. Usually that would bring thunderstorms, but the high pressure is preventing that from happening, meaning tomorrow easily getting to 102 by tomorrow afternoon, 101 in Trenton, and then as some showers try to come in for early Thursday morning, they'll likely be brief, short-lived, not anticipating any thunderstorms this time, and even through Friday, we'll see the clear sky. There's a little bit of a break in the action with the humidity relaxing, the heat going down for Friday morning, and then by Saturday morning, we see a quick round of showers that could last into the midday. So the next few days featuring very hot weather. Today, tomorrow, around 100, probably 90 still on Thursday, depending on the cloud cover, but much cooler in terms of the humidity. The humidity drops for Friday into the weekend as we look ahead to cooler days ahead after this mini heat wave, Ken.
Cooler, so it'll only be 92. That'll be great. What
Cooler,
relief.
yeah.
Woo! 92 degrees. All right, Mike, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you as always. 3 minutes past 8 right now, 70 degrees northern New Jersey, 71 in Trenton, and it's 67 degrees, excuse me, in Cape May. Right now. It is 3 minutes after. And in terms of traffic, we have an issue on the Garden State Parkway right now. This is a crash on the GSP northbound, exiting at exit 148, John F. Kennedy Drive North in Bloomfield. The right lane is blocked. You can see it right there. That's causing folks to snake around very slowly in that area. Again, the vicinity of exit 148, JFK Drive North. Actually, Pam, you said that was by 149, right? Yeah. Yeah, so it's just past exit. So the report here says at 140. This is just north of 148 by exit 149. So it's between the two where that is. Pam knows because she knows exactly which camera that is. So she knows where that crash is. Just give yourselves extra travel time or try to avoid that. Try to get on after 149. That's the ultimate way to do it. We also have a crash on Route 138 eastbound in the vicinity of Allenwood Road in Wall Township. Right shoulder closed there. Route 35 down in Hazlitt Township, we have a gas main rupture. So that's closing Route 35 southbound north of Hazlitt Avenue. Actually, now they're saying they've opened one lane, but the right lane and the right shoulder are currently closed. So they're getting everybody over to the left because of the gas main rupture. Your Hudson River crossings, the Lincoln is an absolute mess because they had a shutdown of two of the lanes of Route 495 making your way into the Lincoln. So your entire Lincoln drive is going to be about 45 to 50 into Manhattan. You're best off coming through the local approaches in Union City, Weehawken area. If you can't get in that way, avoid that altogether. Go over to the Holland or the GWB. Holland Tunnel right now, we take a look at 139 coming off of the Turnpike, making your way in. You could just see that. Well, I don't know. That's strangely one lane. That's for the left tube. See, the right tube is moving pretty well. That's the upper left. That goes into the right tube, but the left tube is just stopped. That's weird. Okay, we'll find out why if there's an issue in the tube. But that's going to cost you about 25 minutes in right now. GWB upper and lower levels were heavy but moving half an hour ago, and now you can see it's actually not gotten worse. So that's about 30 minutes in, not the worst in the world. So if you want open air and sunshine making your way across, the GWB is the way to go. It is 6 minutes after 8. We're going to be talking to somebody right near the GWB right now. FIFA World Cup fever is in full effect this final week through Sunday. And Englewood is throwing one of the biggest block parties of the season. I used to live in North Bergen, right near Englewood. Love it there. Englewood Night Market returns tonight on East Palisade Avenue from 5 to 11, bringing together incredible food, live music, family activities, outdoor World Cup watch parties. Going to be a good time. T.H. Irwin is here with a preview. Good morning, T.H.
Good morning, Ken. I'm so happy to see you again. How
Nice
are
to
ya?
see you again. How do you like? You see that GWB approach, you probably go, eh.
You know what?
You
I'm
know
glad
what
I don't
that's like.
commute to New York anymore. I work out
Yeah.
of my home. I don't deal with, tunnel traffic or accidents on the Garden State Parkway.
Yep.
It's all
I
good.
mean, almost every day I'm here in the home too, which is a good thing. I go in on the weekends to work in the city now, which isn't as bad, thankfully. But so what's new tonight with
Yeah.
the party versus other years?
So this is the sixth time I am producing the Englewood Night Market here with a little break during COVID. And what's new this year is FIFA, of course. FIFA
Mhm.
World Cup has chosen the Englewood Night Market for a pop-up tonight. So their landmark big FIFA trophy statue will be there, along with their street team and marketing group, their sprinter van, all their games, soccer and other kinds of activations. I also have obviously inflatable soccer games. So that we're really alongside the soccer fever. Tonight are the semifinals. There are watch parties in all of the restaurants within the footprint of the event, and we do have some viewing on the screens out in the street, but it's primarily a FIFA pop-up. And what else is new is this 40-foot fun slide. I'm not sure I'll be on it, but it is going to be at the top of the hill of East Palisade Avenue, open for everybody to enjoy and have fun. So those are the two big ones. We always have local eats. I have lots of great new food coming in,
Mm.
and of course, cocktails and mocktails, and tons of ice cream to keep you cool because I saw the forecast. And beggars can't be choosers. Beggars can't be choosers.
Nice.
So we don't have a
Yes,
hurricane,
right.
but it's
Yes.
summer, but it's summer, honey. What do you expect?
Listen, we will take a little heat over a hurricane and pouring rain any day, right? That's a good
Yes.
thing. Talk about some of the eats, by the way, because Englewood has great restaurants. Talk about what you got coming out.
Englewood has had a resurgence again of new restaurants. You have the old favorites like Blue Akai is always on hand. Lulu's Mediterranean has been around a while. Mexcal, of course. Now we have a new one called La Cuchara. We have, oh my God, you're putting me on the spot and I can't remember all of them right now. But up and down the street, we have great restaurants. We have the Essence of Khazar. We have Wahiza Pizza. And then I have local vendors who aren't necessarily in the footprint who are coming. Habit Burger is new to Englewood. They're sponsoring the stage and the live music tonight. But literally, you can't dream up the amount of food that we have tonight. You couldn't even say you're in the mood for something until you see the menu tonight between the desserts and the main dishes and the appetizers. You just want to come hungry and thirsty tonight.
That's awesome. And I'm a big, you talked about cocktails and mocktails. I'm a big mocktail guy. I don't drink alcohol. And you have mocktails are hot. I love how 10 years ago they might have had one mocktail or one like non-alcoholic beer. Today you got like a chart of non-alcoholic beers and
Yeah,
mocktails. I was at a restaurant the other night. They had more mocktails than cocktails. I couldn't believe it.
because it's cool now. It's cool to get a
Yeah.
mocktail. Right. It's
Yep.
very hip and
And
accepted. So yeah, huge menu of mocktails. We have fresh pressed lemonades coming out. I have Culture Caribbean with all their blenders and all their fresh juices and smoothies. And I always have Pine Acres coming in and squeezing the lemonades fresh for you guys. We have the Wandering Cup with an assortment of iced brews and iced teas. So if you want a mocktail, MK Valencia has you covered with their bar. And if you want just something refreshing to drink, we have it on hand. You will stay well hydrated tonight.
we're talking about the Englewood Night Market, which is happening tonight in beautiful Englewood. It's fantastic. And T.H. Irwin is here talking about all that we have. We have live entertainment. You just touched on it for a second. Talk about all the live entertainment tonight.
Yeah. So we have two blocks that we take over on Palisade Avenue. On the upper block, which is between Angle and Dean Street, we have DJ Alex. He's epic. I've been working with him since 2012. He gets a crowd dancing like nobody's business. And then the lower block, which is where the stage is by Van Brunt, we have WFDU Radio coming with DJ Wano. So he's playing all disco throughout the night. And then I have live performances from Caribbean Vibes starting at 5:30. At 7 o'clock, I have Nick DeBarry music. He does a lot of country covers. And then at 9 o'clock, we have Salsa, which is a Latin soul band. And then blended in between, DJ Wano is going to have you dancing to disco favorites.
Very cool. For those that don't know, because I used to be on WNYU radio and we shared the same frequency there, 89.1. That's
Yeah.
WFDU, Fairleigh Dickinson University, 89.1 FM. We used to go on the air back in the day, 4 p.m. to 1 a.m., and they used to come on the air at 2 a.m. and stay on until 3:30 p.m. That's how we shared the frequency in the New York area. Just a crazy little aside. You have some fun giveaways too. Talk about the giveaways, the cash prizes you guys have.
Well, First Commerce Bank is our presenting sponsor this year. They are giving away $100 an hour on the hour. You have to be there to get your $100. It will certainly contribute to your eating and drinking for the evening. You can scan the QR code on various parts of the event. You can also just visit englewoodnightmarket.com. We have it right there for you. Also, you can start entering to win. Our first winner will be at 5 o'clock. And then every hour on the half hour, First Commerce Bank has a cash grab machine, like the machine where all the money's swirling around. And you can test your luck and see how much money you can grab. So, and
Hey, I
plus
got a
all,
suggestion.
yeah.
Wear cargo pants. Wear cargo pants. Pockets. You need
Don't close
pockets.
your eyes either.
That's
Keep
right.
your eyes
All right.
open. But we have over 90 businesses, and everyone's doing a giveaway and a promotion.
And TH is always this has TH's fingerprints on it because only TH could do something that big. You must have been nonstop for 3 months putting this together. You're incredible. The
A
Englewood
year,
Night,
Ken. A
a year.
year.
Okay. Of
Yes.
course.
But thank you.
The
I
Eng-
appreciate it.
You're amazing. You're amazing.
Thank
I'd
you.
love to see you put together a kid's birthday party. You'd have 11 million children show up.
No, I don't do
The,
that. I don't do that. I can't do it. I
the
like these other
Englewood.
things.
They're going to kill me because I'm late to the break. The Englewood Night
Sorry.
Market. Englewood Night Market. It returns tonight, 5 to 11 on East Palisade Avenue in Englewood. T.H. Irwin, we love when you come on. Thank you for coming on. Have a great time tonight.
Thanks for having me. Have a good night.
Always. Always love having you on, TH. She's so much fun. All right, when we come back, a new study could change the way doctors approach lung cancer by identifying who could be at risk years before you get any symptoms. This is something you definitely want to check out. We're coming back in 2. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:16, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Another hot one, meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. But a brief heat wave doesn't last terribly long. In fact, the drier weather comes in as soon as Thursday. Even though it'll still be warm by the end of this week, not as humid as today or tomorrow, where the humidity begins to build. Clouds, can't find them today. It's nice and dry through our skies, and with the clear sky around and that southwesterly breeze, you'll begin to feel the moisture working in, the humidity taking over, and air quality going down as that high pressure allows the air to sink high above our heads. That tends to trap a lot of the atmospheric pollutants and make the air somewhat unhealthy for the sensitive groups specifically. Through tomorrow, when that dew point hits 70 degrees, that's tropical levels of humidity. So you will feel, especially down the shore, where there is a little bit more of that humidity around, especially Cape May, very humid there. But by Thursday afternoon, as that cold front starts to sink southward, it drives in some drier weather. So it'll feel much more comfortable, even through Thursday and Friday. Dew points in the 40s, that's very comfortable, even though temperatures warm back up into the 90s by the end of the week. So heat index up around 100, 101, even down the turnpike through Camden, Medford, Millville, triple digit heat for tomorrow. Breaking by Thursday and then much more comfortable by Friday. You can see the temperatures only feeling like the 80s even into Saturday. So with all the clear sky around today, we're nice and dry. UV index up at an 8, which is very high today. So need the sunscreen through this afternoon. All of that clear sky stretches through the Midwest, and that's where the heat is centered. So that warm air driving westward today, allowing for that heat to remain through this afternoon and really for the next several days. I think Saturday, our next opportunity for a good soaking rain. I know, unfortunate that it happens to the start of the weekend, but Sunday dries out nicely, and then early next week have a few opportunities for some wet weather before we dry things out by Wednesday. So the weekend looking nice and dry, plenty of clear sky again. A couple showers on Saturday, but Sunday looking better.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. It is 8:18 right now, and temperature of 69 degrees northern New Jersey, 71 in Trenton, at 68 at Cape May, and 70 in Vineland. A lot of traffic starting to happen right now. 295, we have a crash northbound north of exit 65, Sloan Avenue in Hamilton. Right lane is currently closed. Let's go over to the Garden State Parkway. We have a crash. This is northbound exiting at 148, between 148 and 149. This is JFK Drive North, Bloomfield. All lanes open. You can see the right shoulder there is now closed, and that's causing a lot of rubbernecking. So if we come back live, we'll talk about another incident we have on the Garden State Parkway. This is a little further south. This is just delays from volume northbound from south of exit 143 all the way up to 153A. So it encompasses the area we just talked about. So this is the tower shot down at exit 143. You can see just slow. It's only moving about 10 to 15 miles an hour. That's from the right to the left as they make their way north. Just beware of that. Back over, let's see, we have Route 138, a crash, vicinity of Allenwood Road in Wall Township. Right shoulder's closed there. There's a gas main break, Route 35, and that is southbound north of Hazlitt Avenue in Hazlitt. Right lane and right shoulder currently closed. Oh, just got a crash on the Walt Whitman Bridge. As you make your way down into Philly, in that area, there's a crash there, eastbound from Midspan to the New Jersey side. So it's making your way from the Pennsylvania side into New Jersey by Gloucester City. 3 left lanes closed. So the bridge is closed. 3 left lanes or the 3 lanes. That's it. That's going to be an absolute mess. Let's take a look at the Hudson River crossings. The Lincoln Tunnel is now 45 to 50 minutes. That's because there was a 2-lane accident on 495 approach to the Lincoln Tunnel. If you have to get to the Lincoln, the way to do it is local approach, although it's now a mess of traffic, because that's really the only way to make it. So if you come through Weehawken, Union City area, you could take the local roads over to the Lincoln Tunnel. Otherwise, don't even try 495. It's a mess right now. Over to the Holland Tunnel, there's some delays on the right tube. You can see that right there. That's some delays turned into a lot of delays. So right now we're told that's 40 to 45 minutes in by the Holland Tunnel. That's Route 139 you're looking at from the Turnpike. And then the GWB upper and lower levels, even though they have volume, they've been moving. Those lanes have. So we take a look. Oh, this is the backside view they're giving us now. So that goes into the lower level, what they're showing us. And even though it's heavy, it is moving. That's a good thing. 10 to 15 miles an hour. That's going to cost you about 20 minutes into Manhattan. It is 8:21. A new study could change the way doctors approach lung cancer by identifying who may be at risk years before symptoms ever even appear. Researchers have discovered a signature in proteins in the blood that may help predict lung cancer 5 years before a diagnosis can even be made. This signature could eventually allow doctors to intervene before the disease develops. Dr. Jeffrey Pells is a thoracic surgeon at Hackensack University Medical Center. We say good morning, Dr. Pells. Good to have you on.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. So talk about this protein. How did they discover the protein, and what protein is it that they discovered that could early predict lung cancer?
Sure. This actually came from a study looking at cardiovascular disease back in 2017, where they randomized over 10,000 patients to either getting a placebo or getting a very powerful anti-inflammatory medicine that actually blocks the whole inflammatory cascade. And they weren't looking at lung cancer at all in this study, but just kind of as an after analysis, they found out that the patients getting these strong anti-inflammatories actually had much lower incidences and death rates from lung cancer. So that prompted them to want to go back and study this in more detail. And then they used AI and machine learning to look at over 3,000 proteins and test over 50,000 blood samples from various patients. And were able to find and whittle that down to 14 proteins that they found in the bloodstream that could potentially predict patients that would get lung cancer in the future. So they found these 14 proteins. They also matched it with patients based on age, smoking status, amount of smoking, and whether or not they had lung disease, and could predict that these patients in the future, like 5 to 7 years down the road, would get lung cancer. So this is not actually detecting somebody who has active lung cancer, but kind of identifying markers in the blood that would put you at risk and potentially getting the chance to intervene on that before somebody even develops lung cancer.
Doctor, my doctor described inflammation to me in a very interesting way. He said it's like a double-edged sword, right? He said it's like a car's airbag. When you first get into the accident, the airbag inflates, preventing you from going through the window. But once the accident's done, you can't keep driving with the airbag in your face because you'll get into another accident. Is that kind of what a very good layman's example of what inflammation is? You need it to protect you. If you get a quick injury, it helps you stop from bleeding out or whatever. But then inflammation can cause problems down the line, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how the body heals is using inflammation and bringing cells in to heal wounds and stop bleeding and things like that. But sometimes the body can overreact. You can see that in chronic diseases like asthma. Patients that got COVID, that overwhelming inflammatory response,
Anaphylaxis.
and yeah, and you get
Anaphylaxis.
exactly, yeah, all sorts of things like that where the body's over response can cause problems. And so, in this study, essentially, you're having maybe cancer seeds in soil, but unless you have that kind of inflammatory fertilizer in there, they may not grow. But if you can detect that you have those, that setup to be at risk for developing the cancer and getting those cells to grow and get out of hand, then you may be able to give these anti-inflammatory medicines or do other interventions before somebody could get lung cancer.
So that is the key right there, right? So this is a very significant thing, knowing in advance the likelihood based on those proteins. So what kind of things do you do? I mean, is it an NSAID? What kind of anti-inflammatories do you start giving people to prevent that from potentially leading to cancer?
So, obviously, this is all in very early stages. This doesn't have any actual clinical application yet that they need to study. But as an offshoot from that prior study looking at heart attacks, it was something called a monoclonal antibody, and it is not like Advil or Motrin or something that you take over the
Right.
counter. This thing shuts down pathways of inflammation in the body, and as you said, double-edged sword. That can potentially cause serious immunosuppression problems. The medications are expensive, obviously, and have many side effects and can create serious infections and have other risks to it. So it's not something that you can just kind of give to everybody. You need to really whittle down and figure out who you need to target, both from a cost but also a safety perspective. And obviously, as newer studies are done and maybe newer medications that can come out that may target this, more specifically.
And monoclonal antibodies are what were given to people who had advanced COVID before we had the shot and everything else, right? Wasn't that used
That's
for
correct.
people who
Yeah.
were developing the massive inflammation and couldn't breathe and their lungs were swollen, and that's what was given to some of the people, right?
Yeah, exactly. That shuts down at a very early point in the inflammatory cascade. Shuts down things called interleukins, and kind of that whole overwhelming cascade that can get out of hand.
So I'm reading here in my notes, it says that this is a powerful anti-inflammatory drug that could potentially reduce lung cancer risk in high-risk individuals by 50%. Is that the monoclonal antibody or is there something else?
Yeah, well, that was they didn't study it specifically for that, so it's a little bit tough to formally draw that conclusion. But certainly they saw over 50% reduction in some of the higher dose. They did a few different doses of that medicine, but they did see anywhere from like 50 to 67% decrease in lung cancer incidence and mortality from lung cancer in that other study that was looking more at heart effects.
I know that, look, in the 70s when I was a kid, and I was born in the late 60s, in the 70s, there were so many smokers, and we all knew smoking wasn't good for you. Thankfully, I never picked up the habit. My dad had smoked for a lot of years, but he stopped like 30 years ago. He's now 95 and a half. His lungs somehow healed up from his years of smoking. We know that smoking absolutely causes lung cancer, period. We've seen a decrease in smoking cigarettes, but I'm seeing when I walk down the streets of Manhattan, people sucking in joints, marijuana like it's going out of style. It stinks of Manhattan of marijuana everywhere you go. How is it that we were so anti-cigarettes that had little filters on the end, and now it's okay to smoke a joint? You're bringing in thick smoke into your lungs, hot smoke. Is that better?
Well, we don't have all of the evidence for marijuana-related side effects. Certainly, vaping was a big thing, and using CBD oil, getting other interstitial lung diseases and issues. I can't really say for sure that's an issue, but maybe going forward as it becomes more common, when we see more of that, we can find out that may be something to avoid as well. But certainly, we know that not just smokers can get lung cancer. About 20% of patients that have no real smoking history and sometimes no other known factors can get lung cancer. Certain things like radon exposure and certainly pollution and other environmental factors can contribute to lung cancer. And in this recent study as well, they did show that pollution and other environmental and occupational exposures can actually set up that same sort of inflammatory milieu in the body that you would get from smoking. So there's certainly many other things out there that can set up that same inflammatory cascade and potentially set you up as being at risk to develop lung cancer some years down the road.
And alcohol, right? I mean, alcohol is extremely toxic to the blood. And I've read several studies, I'm sure you know certainly a lot better than me. But alcohol, the fumes of the alcohol alone could burn the inside of your lungs. And when you scar the inside of your lungs, I mean, that's when you're opening the door to cancer formation down the line. Am I wrong?
Certainly if somebody's drinking too much and throwing up and getting stuff into their lungs and creating, inflammation, that's not good. Alcohol is certainly related to other cancers like esophageal cancer, things like that. It's not as much directly correlated with lung cancer specifically, but sometimes drinking and smoking go hand in hand. And so, that may increase the effects of somebody smoking. But all of these things that people are exposed to or put in their bodies can have long-term effects on developing all sorts of cancers. And thankfully, as time is going on, we're seeing a lot of newer medications and tests and things to be able to detect lung cancers and other cancers sometimes before they develop, and then hopefully getting other medications other than just kind of shotgun chemotherapy that are very targeted and can have much better outcomes. And we're seeing recent studies in pancreatic cancer. And obviously, we've made a lot of progress in lung cancer over the last 10 years, where there's immunotherapies and targeted therapies and other medications where, maybe 10 years ago, we didn't really have much options at all for people.
Dr. Jeffrey Pells, a thoracic surgeon at Hackensack University Medical Center. Great advances, fingers crossed. Let's hope it keeps going exponentially rapidly at this point. We appreciate you coming on this morning, Doctor.
Great. Thank you.
You bet. All right, it's 8:31 right now. When we come back, do you stress out when you hear severe weather's coming? We'll speak with a licensed professional counselor to talk about the large number of people who truly suffer from storm anxiety. I wonder if Mike Favetta does. We'll be right back. Very good morning. It is Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. We have 70 degrees at 8:33. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. A hot day. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the full Garden State forecast. Do you suffer from weather anxiety, Mike, by any chance? It's something that I know meteorologists they're a little reticent to talk about, aren't they? It's a little embarrassing.
I get excited when there's storms. You kidding me? It's more so when you're stuck inside with the kids and the babies, really, and you can't go outside because it's too hot, right? Everybody else at the pool, at the beach, enjoying the sun, and we're like, ugh, baby can't sweat yet, so we're not allowed to go anywhere, so we're stuck inside while it's, kind of warm and sunny out. So that's the anxiety right there. When you can't get outside when it's
Got it.
nice, but hopefully it's short-lived. And we're looking forward to the drier weather that comes as soon as Thursday, even though it'll still be warm by the end of this week, noticing a lot more of an improvement after all the hot weather today, hot and sticky. As the satellite goes, it's nice and clear. So we begin the day dry, but it's that southwesterly push of air that makes for a more humid feel today, much more so than yesterday. And you can see with the wind direction, all of this wind moving in from the south and west, really pushing in a humid breeze through this afternoon. The pollen levels are at the moderate level for weeds and grasses. Trees pollen season is over, and it's been dry, so molds haven't been an issue. We may come close to the record tomorrow. Today's record is 102. Tomorrow's forecast is 101. There is some really hot weather on the way, and it likely arrives in just about 24 hours. So with the temperatures that have warmed in the water well into the mid-70s, that heat from last week did a number on temperatures, making it feel nice and warm there at the ocean. And with the low chances of rain, at least until the weekend, I know this is the opposite of what you want to see, dry and hot and humid during the week, and then rain once we get to the weekend. Saturday and Sunday have higher chances of rain, specifically in the threat of some thunderstorms. So as the clear sky goes today, we're seeing that humidity build, sunshine around all day. Then we head into tomorrow, and there likely will be some clouds passing through as a weak front moves on by. May give us a quick passing shower, but not really enough to give us a good soaking rain. Then as we head into Friday and Saturday, I think Friday is beautiful, but Saturday could start off cloudy with some showers that move in to start the weekend, and some of that wet weather lingers into Sunday morning. 7-day forecast has a big 100 there for the forecast tomorrow. It's going to be hot, but brief because we're back in the low 90s with much lower humidity. So I know you think, well, doesn't it really mean heat wave continues? Okay, technically, yes, if it does in fact reach the low 90s, and I think it may not because of the cloud cover, it's much drier. And so the low humidity will actually make it feel quite comfortable until we get to the weekend where Saturday and Sunday sees the showers. Best chance of the rain, I think, is on Saturday, Sunday. Early showers with a late day clearing, looking nicer by the end of the day. It's important because there's a big game, if you haven't heard, that's taking over East Rutherford at what we know as MetLife Stadium. I know now they call it New Jersey, New York Arena. And it's funny, Ken, have you seen on the turnpike, it says New Jersey, New York Arena? What?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's called the
Yes!
New York, New Jersey Arena, but in New
But
Jersey,
on the turnpike, the
like
sign
New
is
Jersey,
different.
New York. Yes, I thought I was nuts. I thought did
know.
I just missee that? Good for
It's
you
so
for
funny. It's
catching
like,
that.
it's weird. It's like, that's a little Jersey for you.
I mean, it's offensive to call it New York, New Jersey Arena. Do you remember the late great Howard Cosell, if you're old enough, used to call them the New Jersey Jets because he's like, they're not New York. It's in New Jersey. Once they went to the Meadowlands, because they used to play at Shea. And when they went over, well, then Shea, that doesn't even exist, City Field, whatever. And now they play, of course, here. So anyway, interesting. I'm glad you caught that. I was thinking it as you said it, sir. Much appreciated, Mike. All right. So there we have it. It's going to be 71 degrees. And by the way, a quick little fun fact. I looked it up while you were talking. So babies start to have the full sweat system between 6 and 12 months, right?
That sounds right. Usually just wait for the pediatrician to tell us, okay, you can take him outside now. That's
Or wait, you see the baby start to sweat. Good. It's the way. It's a very scientific way to do it. All right, Mike, we'll check back with you, sir. Thank you. 71 degrees right now, up and down the state of New Jersey, even at the shore. It's kind of uniform. This is what happens as you get into the midsummer. the shore, because the ocean temperatures start to moderate a little bit, so the shore doesn't get as cold as it is at the beginning of the summer. It is at 8:38, and severe weather can be frightening, and for many people, the anxiety begins well before the storm arrives. A recent study found that nearly a third of all people experience anxiety related to extreme weather. Anthony Rizzo is a licensed professional counselor, an LPC, with ThriveWorks Counseling and Psychiatry in Edison to talk about storm anxiety. Good morning to you, Anthony. Good to have you on.
Good morning, Ken.
So, when can severe weather trigger such intense anxiety for some people?
It could start the days, weeks leading up to all of these severe weather patterns happening. We hear a lot about hurricane season and storm season. Once the radar starts to come in, and then we looking at making definitely days leading up to large storms. Weather Channel, 24-hour news networks, they're always showing, all right, here's the radar that's coming up. This is where it's probably going to go. And when you look at those maps, a lot of times it's like, all right, it's going to be in this part, and then it's going to be in this other little part, and then it could be the entire eastern seaboard. And when it comes to anxiety specifically, there is a lot of overthinking and what ifing that goes on in somebody's head. So that uncertainty, especially around things like literal forces of nature, like we're talking about here, can definitely increase anxiety levels.
So I used to live in South Florida full time. I still live there part time, and I know that when I lived and worked there full time, there was always that sense of stress whenever you'd see a storm start to form. And now, of course, in summertime, we're in hurricane season. We say, oh, the second letter storm has just formed off of Africa and it's coming this way or whatever. So for people in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania area, that doesn't necessarily ring alarm bells as it does if you're down along the coast, southeastern coast. You definitely get those alarm bells. Or for us, it's when there's the nor'easter or the impending snowstorm. We get, I guess, a similar effect here. What are some of the common signs, though, that people may experience from storm anxiety?
So a common symptoms that you got people would definitely experience, definitely a lot of muscle tension, overthinking, hyperventilating, especially during the storm. In the weeks leading or days leading up to, preparation for the storm, there could be a lot of over preparing. So there's a difference between, let's make sure we're checking the batteries. Let's make sure all the things are charged, the generators, gassed up and ready to go. In the wintertime, let's make sure we know where the shovels are and the snowblower is able to easily get out of the garage. To being like, all right, I need to prep for being out of power for weeks on end, and I have all these like Army surplus MREs, and I'm getting ready to build an ark. Like, you can be a little over prepared, and that's definitely where things tend to get a little screwy, shall I say.
Yeah, Anthony, it sounds like a prepper, right? You get the preppers going.
Yes.
They're ready for the end of times. So there are a lot of I have friends who are Mormons and evangelists, and they're into the evangelicals. I'm not making fun because they're the ones we're going to be knocking down the door of to ask for an MRE when we don't have anything because we didn't prepare.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So and how can if we have children in the house who they respond to when their parents get stressed. Children can feel that. So how can parents help children who may be frightened by storms or emergency warnings?
That can definitely be a not necessarily something that happens, during the storm or in around the time of the storm. That can be kind of an all year thing, kind of showing emotion or telling modeling behaviors as we call it. That anxiety is it's common, like you said. I think up to around 20% of adults at any given time in the United States suffer from some sort of anxiety. That number jumps closer to a third for lifetime anxiety, any time in their lifetime. So there are showing kids that anxiety can be normal, can and it can be a little discomfort, and we can kind of move past it. Can be hugely helpful to be like, all right, like this is kind of just how we're feeling right now, but it's not necessarily going to stay that way.
What is your website for people to get in touch?
Thriveworks.com is the main website. If you look up, if you want to see me specifically, you can look up Thriveworks, Anthony Rizzo, and I'm the You got to add a few little extra identifiers there so you don't get the Yankee to find me. But yeah, we are very easily able to be found.
Or not, or maybe somebody wants to talk to that Anthony Rizzo. Why not? They form a new friendship. We appreciate you.
Maybe.
Licensed professional counselor with ThriveWorks Counseling and Psychiatry in Edison, Anthony Rizzo, the Anthony Rizzo, the therapist.
Yes.
That's the guy you want to go see. Thank you for coming on this morning, Anthony.
Thanks for having me on.
You bet. It is 8:43 when we come back. Getting in shape isn't easy, but the journey can seriously extend your life. We're going to talk with a former Division I football player, wrote a whole bunch of books too. He transformed his life, and he'll help you do that with you too. Sunny and hot, highs mid-90s. We're coming back in 2. And a very good morning to you. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, 846, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta on what will be a very hot day. Good morning, sir.
Very warm day, yes, and some dry weather ahead. With that heat and humidity building, the lawns and the gardens have gotten a lot of rain over the last 2 weeks, especially with the percentage of rain over the last 30 days, over 200% in some places, like there toward Long Branch. So really filling up the reservoirs, even though most of the long range drought, especially down across southern New Jersey, persists, where you see that little splash of red south of Atlantic City into Cape May. But a big improvement, and improvement is good considering how dry the ground has been even before last week. With temperatures today reaching the mid and upper 90s, it'll feel a little bit hotter with the heat advisory in effect. The excessive heat warning goes through for tomorrow with all of that extreme heat around and a little bit more of that continued wet weather into the next 2 weeks as most of the heat after this week goes away. We're looking pretty good. A lot of that heat stretching off to the west for next week. The 7-day forecast has that hot weather into tomorrow, 100 degrees, then lower humidity, even though temperatures remain in the 90s throughout Thursday and Friday. Drier for this week, but the weekend turns wet, especially on Saturday. I think some early morning showers and storms Sunday give way to clear sky by the afternoon, and then Monday and Tuesday of next week continued cooling trend with temperatures getting back down to average even as we head into Monday and Tuesday. So better weather on the way. Just comes with a few chances of storms this weekend, Ken.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Interesting. See what happens if it rains on the people who spent $20,000 to see the World Cup finals. Interesting. Little rain on your parade. That's all. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. We will check back mañana. Enjoy your day. 73 degrees right now at 8:48. 71 in Trenton, 73 northern New Jersey. It's 70 in Cape May. Just want to tell you about one incident here. We have a disabled tractor trailer New Jersey Turnpike. So this is up by the local lanes by just south of exit 72. So as you make your way on the Turnpike to the GWB, just south of exit 72, now you have a disabled tractor trailer. Unfortunately, the shot that they're showing us is the back shot. So this is after the incident. So I don't think that's going to help. Pam has it, but it's not going to help us. So just know that if you're heading to the GWB, you're better off with the local approach because that's not going to show it. Unfortunately, that's after the incident. It's just before that, about a half a mile behind where those cars are coming. But here's an indicator that there's a problem. See how light the traffic is here? It's because all the cars are being held half a mile behind by the disabled tractor trailer. That tells you the fact that on a weekday morning at 8:49, there are very few cars going to the GWB. It's because they're all being held back. It's like pinching a hose. And that's exactly what's happening. So just beware. Lincoln Tunnel's also a mess. 2 lanes shut down on 495. Holland is very heavy, but it may be your best bet right now, unless you take your local approaches to either the Lincoln or the GWB. 8:49, fitness coach and best-selling author Steve Hochman knows firsthand how difficult it can be to transform your health because he did it. Once a 287-pound Division I football player struggling with high blood pressure and anxiety, he changed his own life and developed a science-backed approach to help others to do the same. He has a book out called The Three. Steve joins us this morning to share his journey and to explain how people can improve their health without obsessive dieting or fitness gimmicks. Good morning to you, Steve. Good to have you on.
Good morning, Ken. Thanks for having me.
And I know you've worked with tons of celebs, everyone from super famous to not so super famous people. You've helped transform lives. What was the turning point that made you realize that you needed to make a major change in your own health?
Yeah, Ken, I don't know. I really just hit rock bottom. It wasn't just for health. It was just every aspect of my life. I found myself on a floor, homeless, and God talked to me and gave me a message. And here I am doing what I've been told.
Amen. When you listen to what God has to say, right, it changes everything. Sometimes we talk a lot, we don't stop and listen. And you went from struggling with your weight and high blood pressure to becoming a fitness guru, if you will, fitness coach. So what did that transformation teach you overall about life?
Yeah, to be honest, it all kind of happened on accident. A former teammate of mine became a scientist about 30 years ago and explained to me that the problem isn't calories, it's glucose. And there's only one way to know what ingredients release massive amounts of glucose. And that is 3 words that most people have never heard of, which is the glycemic index. You know, Ingredients have changed so much in 50 years that people are struggling because they're counting calories. But there's ingredients out there like maltodextrin and dextrose, which release 3 times more sugar than actual sugar. So the landscape has totally changed. And if we keep focusing on calories, we're going to keep gaining weight and getting diabetes. Right now, 1 in 3 kids aged 12 to 17 are already pre-diabetic. And everyone really needs to learn about the glycemic index and how to use it.
Now, for proof of what you are saying, and I only say this because of my circumstance, I used to be 360 pounds. So I'm with you. I'm 180 pounds now. Loose skin proves it, but I'm proud of that loose skin. I have no embarrassment about it. But at the very end, my doctor noticed that I had a little sugar levels issues. So he put me on 2 things. He has me on a baby dose of Ozempic because he's worried about me becoming pre-diabetic. I was right at the edge. And he has me on Farxiga. Now, I'm not saying anyone should go talk to the doctor and say, I want to go on this. What I'm saying is because he was worried about me getting into that pre-diabetes, it was right at the edge of pre-diabetes. But what happened the second that happened and my glycemic index was controlled, I went from 205 to 180. That's how my body responded to having stabilized blood sugar. It's amazing. And Mike, when I tell you every food craving I ever had, gone. So it's amazing. You are defining it. You're absolutely correct. I speak from personal experience. When you get the glycemic index in check, everything else comes to pass. Did you discover that for yourself then?
he did his scientific dissertation on the glycemic index, insulin, and glucose, and how it affects the human body. And this was 28 years ago. I really just wanted to get lean for boxing, to be honest. It wasn't like, I got done with football. I wanted to go into boxing for a while. And I applied it to myself. He showed me what the numbers meant. People were just gravitated towards me. And I started working with thousands of people. I was able to reverse diabetes in over 5,000 people. It's really easy to do. It's just that people don't understand that there's something called the glycemic index, and you can literally Google the glycemic index of any ingredient. And I think you would be shocked to see that sugar is a 65, and there's thousands of ingredients that are 90, 100, even up to 185, which releases massive amounts of glucose, which causes not only weight gain and diabetes, but a host of other diseases as well. And that is the future. If everyone keeps focusing on calories, they're going to keep being stuck.
Yeah, I mean, sugars, plural. I don't just mean regular table sugar, but sugars, right? Like simpler sugars too. They're toxic. We need a tiny amount of carbohydrate in our, right? Just enough. You do need some carbohydrates, but you don't need raw, plain sugars like you talked about, the dextrins and the maltodextrins and things like that, that we just put in all our foods because they're a cheaper way to sweeten them up. When you're doing massive quantities of food, it's a third the price of cane sugar. So that's what, and this is why we have a fat, 2 or 3 fat generations. And all that inflammation leads to God knows what, from everything from cancer to heart disease. And we've just become a nation of sick people. We shouldn't be sick people when we have all the nutrition in the universe at our disposal, more so than any other country in the world.
Be taught in schools. Like kids should just learn in health class. This is the glycemic index. This is how you use it. And I encourage everybody listening to this, just start, even if you use ChatGPT and take a picture of ingredients and ask it, what is the glycemic index of each ingredient? Remember, sugar is 65. You know sugar's bad, so you know 65 is bad. You will be shocked that most of the ingredients you're eating are way above 65. Sugar is a mid-level ingredient. There's hundreds of ingredients that blow sugar out of the water, and this is what people are consuming, and this is what's causing all the problems.
Where does, just out of curiosity, like a refined white flour and whatnot, how does that stack up?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Flour isn't even sweet. So sugar is 65, refined flour is 85 to 95. Yeah, and in fact, like cheese is great. It's like a 0 on the glycemic index. But if you go to the store and buy shredded cheese, it's smothered in potato starch, which has a glycemic index of 95, which is 30 points higher than sugar. People just aren't aware that they're consuming supercharged sugar. They're looking for the word sugar, but when you stop looking at words and start looking at numbers, you'll really see what's actually out there.
Yeah, they put potato starch or cornstarch on shredded cheese so it doesn't stick together and clump. But the problem is now it's no longer 0 index and pure, fat and protein. Now all of a sudden it's carbohydrate, but simple carbs, and boom, you get that spike. Unbelievable. Well, your mission is to help 1 million people live stronger and healthier lives. What are you hoping people take away from your approach?
Honestly, my passion right now, it's great that this makes you lose weight. It's really easy to be lean doing it this way. But honestly, my passion is diabetes and childhood diabetes. If you're a diabetic and you're not using the glycemic index, which doctors will not tell you about, you literally have no chance of reversing type 2 diabetes. Once you start using this and you can see clearly what you're eating, all of a sudden the problem is easy to solve. That is really my mission right now. And that's what I'm doing every single day.
Amen. Steve, give everybody your website.
The best way to reach me is on Instagram. It's stevehockman.driven. That is the best way. If you message me, I actually respond personally to all my messages.
And that's Hochman with a CH, Hochman,
Yeah.
everybody. His book, check it out, is called The Three, fitness coach, best-selling author. He's written a whole bunch of books, not just that one, but this is the one we're talking about. Works with celebs, works with everyday people, and transformed his life. Steve Hochman, thank you for coming on this morning.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
You bet, my friend. Come back again. And that does it for On New Jersey Mornings. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.